Good morning. It's still not integrating the YouTube chat. That's really annoying. I wonder why. Maybe it'll come up in a second. Welcome, everybody, to 20 Question Tuesdays. My guest here is Scrappy Judd Newcomb, and for the next 15 minutes before we go live on Austin Music TV, we're going to take some questions from you so that we can have an interesting show and we can talk about some fun stuff. How you doing, Scrappy?
I'm doing great. I'm so happy to be here.
I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, so who's got questions? Lee! We have Doc Tari on the line.
Doc Tari's on the line.
Yeah. Doc Tari's here. Oh, look, the other chat has now been integrated. We have the YouTube chat integrated. So if you guys want to watch this on the big screen, you can chat on Facebook, you can chat on YouTube, you can chat on Twitter, and get your questions. They all integrate to one place. Hey, Steve, how you doing too? I got my analog recorder for our questions for the day. We've already got a couple of good questions, but I would love to see some more before we go online. And Doc Tari, I bet you've got some good questions. I bet you've got some corny ones too. Jimmy from that great radio station up in Red Lodge, Montana.
Woo!
Jimmy's Roadhouse. Scrappy, you want to go and play Jimmy's Roadhouse? It is happening, and
I'm leaving right now. I'm actually packing my bags and getting ready to go.
You would be. It's really beautiful up there. It's a great place to play, and Sean brought me in there one day and said, "Hey, you got to." Check this guy out, and I played on the radio for him. I mean, he just went, "Hey, you want to go on?" Because we trusted him, and then we got online and we started doing it. But everybody, let's get some questions. And you see the tip information before we go online. I just want to let you know I'm splitting the tips with Scrappy today.
What?
And, I know we are Sean Devine, exactly, and we are unemployed musicians, so we're happy to take your questions and talk to you about all things musical. If you don't have any money, we're super glad you're here. If you have a little bit to tip, then it's much appreciated.
Hi.
Oh, that's right. We got to share this on SXOT as well for all of our fans and friends in Japan.
Ooh.
They should be. Sometimes I share it on these channels and such. That reminds me, one other thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to just put up the thing while everybody go ahead and put some questions in. We need some questions.
Is there a way I can see the chats?
Unfortunately, no. When will we hear more resentments? I'm hooked. Oh, I love that, Jimmy. Oh, and David's got a good one. How great is it for two great guitar players to play together? Good question. I like that, David. We should talk about that a little bit. That's a fun question. It might have been facetious, but what kind of questions? Dave Scher, none from Dave Scher.
Oh yeah, he's got none.
We got no interest. Dave, please, any kind of question that's musical or business related or whatever. David Goldblatt, I like your question. How fun to guitar players. And then we had another question, which was, when will we hear resentments? And I can put that up for Jimmy, because we're going to be playing Sunday.
Exactly.
Serious, not facetious. We can do it. In the traditional Japanese tea ceremony, is it gauche to extend the pinky finger? I think you know the answer to that question, Dr. Tari. Jimmy. Music Ranch Radio, by the way. Jimmy, I have no problem at all if you put a link to Music Ranch Radio in this chat. I love it. And I love when everybody's talking amongst themselves and answering these questions together, and they create little side chats. Super, super cool. So feel free to do that. And Dave, all joking aside, plug any shows you've got. Tucker Livingston's on right now. What is each of your favorite current guitar chord you like to play and have discovered? I like that question. Tucker. Killer question. Good questions here. We got 10 minutes before we go on. There's Jimmy's link right there to Music Ranch Radio. Plays a lot of independent musicians, plays a lot of big stuff too. It's a great place to go check out music, and Red Lodge, Montana is one of those places, man. It's just so beautiful. Hey, I got to make sure I got this pinned to the top of the page in Facebook too. I'll be right back. Keep those questions coming. I will get to as many of them as we can today. Scrappy?
Yes.
I wouldn't say tell a joke, but we're getting more questions, everybody, before we go on.
Oh my gosh.
And there's a lot of questions coming in. I do wish I could share that chat with you, but then I'd have to kill you.
No, don't do it.
I don't like it. Pinning to the top. Making sure everybody... Oh, we got lots of great people online right now already. Fantastic. Scrappy, you're a hit.
No.
You're already a hit.
Woo!
I like it. I like seeing my own empty chair online, too. That's always good.
At times.
All right. Concerts in the Attic is missing hosting great musicians. We miss you, too, man. What a great thing. Did you ever play that with Slade or on your own, Scrappy? Except in the Fort Worth area.
I don't know if I did.
Smile, you're on Music in Atlanta. Well, thanks for sharing it. Ooh, that's kind of cool. Scrappy, have you played a plank guitar? You like Dave Share? I don't know. Oh,
I don't think I have.
Question? Yeah.
I tried to one time, and Jeff slapped my hand, and he said, "Get away."
Woo! I said, "Get that out of your hands."
Yeah.
Okay.
In his defense, I'd been eating a lot of Smucker's jam. It was all over my
I didn't want it on the guitar if I was about to play it.
I had a bunch of Marionberry jam on my fingers. If that's all right.
All right, we're getting some really good questions here. We're going to have plenty to talk about. Okay, Music in Atlanta. I love that we're on Music in Atlanta. That's fantastic. Concert at the Attics. Sorry, Dave, we've already answered your question. Steve Long says, never had Scrappy. Someday. The answer is yes, man. John Napier, one of my favorite singers ever. I'm so glad you're here. We got to finish our tune, brother.
Ask him if he mixed that. If that session is done that I played on.
Did you mix that? Oh yeah, that's right. You just went and played some for him. That's fantastic.
That was a while ago, but
no, that was a couple months.
Yeah, a couple months.
Oh, well,
that's
good.
It was good.
In the grand scheme of things, you know.
It was a fun session.
So what are we doing, guys? Let's see. We've got a good page of questions. And I'll be able to man the chat pretty well. But if anybody else has musical question or otherwise, we will be going live on Austin Music TV in about 7 minutes.
What
John
channel?
Napier says it's in the work. What's that?
Is that actually on TV?
Yes, it's on a cable channel. You can get it on Google Fiber. You can get it on Time Warner. It's Austin Music TV. If you click over to their feed, you can see where all the links are and stuff, but you could put this up on your TV with YouTube and then do the comments wherever. People are watching on Periscope right now, people are watching on YouTube right now, people are watching on my favorite, which was the combination of Facebook and YouTube, Facebook and MySpace, which was YouFace.
Oh, YouFace.
You remember YouFace. YouFace was fantastic. They had that classic slogan, "Who are you facing?" It's not there. It's not there at all. Scrappy, if you want to play a little bit of music to bring us in, I sure like having that. Hey, you know what? Lee Doctari, that is a great question. Hey, Lady D's in the house too. Doctari, I love that question. Doctari is going to ask us later.
Ooh, no preview of the question? What is it?
Yeah, sure. It's what books are you currently reading?
Oh!
And he wants to know if we're reading any that don't have pictures. No, I added that.
Yeah.
That's my favorite, best joke in Bull Durham.
Oh, yeah.
What are you currently reading and favorites?
It's just a bunch of dirty pages. I can't figure out what's.
I'm so glad we already have some great people on here, and thank you so much for everybody who tips. I am splitting the tips with Scrappy today, and we are unemployed musicians, so we do appreciate your help. We'll also stay on just a little bit after the television show, like maybe 5-10 minutes, make sure we get everybody's questions answered. All right. About 3 minutes. Austin Music TV is a music program. Oh, yes. Channel 16, Google Fiber Channel 16, Time Warner 16, Grand Communications, and AT&T Uverse Channel 99. Kimberly Shoemaker, you tell me, could be tomato. Are you both self-taught guitarists? It's a good question, and we can talk about that. Most guitarists I know are a little bit both, like we end up getting a lot of osmosis lessons, but that's a fun thing to talk about, Kimberly, and we will address that.
Whatever happened to osmosis lessons? The great German philosopher.
Osmosis lessons.
Osmosis lessons. My philosophy is a simple one.
Yeah, but what was really funny about Osmosis Lessons was that his middle name was really something simple. It was like Frank. It was like Osmosis Frank Lessons.
I thought it was Mo.
Oh, it was Mo.
Yeah.
Okay. Osmosis Mo Lessons, like Mo Lessons.
Osmosis Mo Lessons.
Oh, it's going to be a good one.
Osmosis Mo Lessons. His main 2 precepts were that you should always eat rye bread, and oh,
it's too good.
Yeah, I don't remember the other one. I did.
It was never start a land war in Asia.
Oh.
Okay, so
always eat rye bread and never start a land war.
Never start a land war in Asia. We got about a minute here, everybody. If you got one more question, song editing. Oh, Daniel Thomas Phipps is here. I love all the people that are here right now. Struggling with editing something down in the writing portion. That's great.
Daniel Thomas Phipps he's in the house. Daniel Thomas Phipps, ladies and gentlemen, the next president of the United States.
All right, we're about 20 seconds, 15 seconds. Scrappy, if you could play a little bit of music for us, I would love to hear it. Oh, and it sounds so nice. Welcome, everybody, to 20 Question Tuesdays. We are live on Austin Music Television, Channel 16 all over, Channel 99 on Uverse.
It's television.
And who do we have here today? We have, as I said, the wily and elusive music producer, guitar player, many multi-instrumentalist, singer-songwriter, and basically, without making you feel too weird about it, someone that I've looked up to as a mentor for about almost 20 years. Scrappy Judge Newcomb, everybody. Give him a round of applause online. Give him that online. Feel free to put as many emojis in as you want. Be kind with your emojis. But we are super happy to have Scrappy here. And, we got them all. Hey, there's Joel from the old quarter as well. I wish you all could see the crowd. I haven't been able to figure that out yet. What we do is we get together every week and we take questions online from everybody about music stuff. And we have a conversation and we play some songs and things of this nature. Kate Howard says, hi, Scrappy. Hi.
KH.
Susan says, hi, Scrappy. Susan Adams. All sorts of great people here. Oh, and Kate, yes, I got that about your ideas. We'll get to your question in a bit here. And, it's really, really a great thing. And for support, you have this stuff right here. for myself and for Scrappy, who are unemployed musicians due to COVID. But we are super happy to provide a service and to come on and take your questions about music. We have a huge analog list of questions that you can't see because of the beautiful sunlight coming from Vancouver Island, where I am right now. Scrappy Judd Newcomb is in beautiful Marfa right now.
Yes, it is beautiful.
And we're pretty happy that we can do this. Last week, I was really, really happy to have Jamie Harris. You can go back and watch that show if you like. Week before was Michael O'Connor. And next week, my guest will be Mr. Bill Kirchen.
Oh, Lord.
So it'll be pretty fun. And I'm sure we'll have some good telly talk. Oh, Bob, I might ask that question, but I don't know if you're going to get an answer. Okay. So let's start with that question for Bob Hogan. Oh, and hi, Ada. How you doing?
Ada.
Bob Hogan asks a question. Where did your nickname Scrappy come from?
Oh, okay.
It
came. Can you hear me good?
You sound fantastic.
Hey, thank you. That nickname came from the first band that I was ever in called the Highwaymen at the time. They turned into the Loose Diamonds, but this was like 1989. And I was the youngest member of the band, by far the least experienced in the ways of the world. In some of the ways of the world. And we were just sitting around goofing off one day, and Troy Campbell said, "Oh, he's tall, but he's scrappy," in kind of an ironic sense of how you might say someone's small, but they're scrappy. And then Mark Patterson, the drummer, said, "Oh, that's what we should call him." And up until then, I didn't realize there was any need for it to call me anything other than Judd, because my name Judd is actually, I was on my birth certificate, it says Justin. And
right.
My parents never called me Justin ever in my life. Nobody in my, so I basically have a nickname.
Yeah.
So they started calling me that. And then within about a couple years, I started playing with Tony Price, and then she got very popular. And then, so she would introduce me as that. So the vast majority of people that I've known, know me as that. So it just sort of took over, And then I realized it was a pretty good way to people would remember you, with that name.
Sure. Well, it's like Plankenhorn.
Exactly. Yeah, I know.
You're gonna pick a stage name.
What's your real name again? I can't.
Nick Steele.
Oh yeah.
I was born Nick Steele, but I thought Plankenhorn would just fit right up there on a marquee.
Yeah.
And that worked. It's worked out pretty well for me. Tony Seller says, "I still have my Loose Diamonds cassette."
Oh, nice. Is that the Burning Daylight?
Is it Burning Daylight? Oh, wait, saw you play LD in Dallas Alley with Ray Wiley Hubbard.
At the OU
94,
game.
95? Yeah,
the Texas OU game.
All right. The operator says, "Ask how you're doing." Well, hey, I'm a little busy. I'm on a show right now, mister. Yeah, that's pretty cool, man. Oh, Kelly, we're right with Scrap. Okay, we got enough questions for this episode, everybody. But I hope you stay because we got some really, really good ones. I'm going to start with the first question that came in. I'm going to be taking a lot more questions on my email list for next week. And I'm sure Danielle will put up a way for you to sign up for the email list. And that way it'll be a lot easier than getting on early and getting them. Lady D is helping. She's posting the things that you need to see for us and stuff like that.
That's a good rhyme scheme there.
Lady D, what you need to see.
Yeah. Posting the things that you need to see. Lady D.
Okay, so John Austin out of Ohio, who we both know well, he has a double question. He's a double question, but I think that you are particularly good to answer this. The first question he asks is, if you were going to teach a seminar on Robert Ward, the great guitar player Robert Ward, he said, what would you say was unique about him or compelling or perhaps influential? And what would you describe and demonstrate? And my suggestion is, or the way that I would Well, I'll let you just go ahead because it's a tough question, but it's a good question.
Well, okay. So from a personal standpoint, from what really knocked me out and was so compelling about him was a combination of you might say this about a lot of individual players, but a combination of his tone, which was the magnatone, the true pitch bending, and just his melodic sense. It was he kind of reminded me of almost some like King Sunny Ade, sort of African high life type. I mean, I don't think there's any connection, but he's such a joyous player. And also, I was a huge fan, still am a huge fan of Steve Cropper at the time that I discovered Robert Ward. And Steve Cropper, used double stops, the 2-note chords, to
right?
Such great effect, where kind of thing. And Robert Ward would use double stops, but he wouldn't space them that far apart. He would do like like. Sort of doubling, or not doubling a note, but picking 2 notes that were closer together, I guess, in the scale, and that combination with the warbly, almost organ kind of sound, was just, I don't know, it was just very, very unique, and it's just something melodically was so connected to me.
I love what you're talking about regarding, being an influence on Steve Cropper, who would be like, like a, that kind of a double stop thing, but then putting them close.
Yeah.
Those kind of things, which again could all of a sudden be like, could take us into Keith Richards' realm and could take us into so many other realms as well. Yeah. And then also talking about Robert Ward and the magnatone and that being like a signature thing. All of us guitar players, no matter who we are, tone is really, really, really high up there.
Yeah.
It's so much in your hands and how you play, and not just your instrument, but sometimes something like that magnatone amp that now they've been really starting to make them again, and make them well, people can get that tone again, and that's pretty exciting. And
well, I think one thing about Robert Ward too is, to me, he's an example of somebody whose style, his note choices, his playing, his phrasing, and the sound of that amp completely gel. Like there's,
right.
you hear some people who are really great, and they can have a variety of tones, and it's like cool. They know how to use the tone of any given, but like Robert Ward seems like it all came up as one thing, much like Keith Richards when he when Riker turned him onto the open G. It's like right around the time he started playing larger amps and got just everything kind of came together in the late 60s for him sound wise. But yeah, Robert Ward, just unbelievable, and also a very, very early, if you were to make a chart of the genealogical chart of the Ohio Players, he was in the first incarnation of what later became the Ohio Players.
Right.
Yeah.
So a lot of different places that he reached, even though he didn't get the acclaim that some of these other guitarists that we know off the tongue. And what great music to go look up and go check out. The second question that he had was a songwriting question, and again, it's a little bit really focused. And it's like, if you were going to host a clinic on Van Morrison, what two to three songs would you focus on, specifically talking about like his songwriting? And what would you want folks to learn from him? And I mean, again, that's a tough question because there's a lot to draw from in that. Well, maybe if you think of something that just pops in your head, great song.
Well, on this one, I not cheated, but I did get a heads up from John about these questions last night.
Right.
And the Robert Ward one, I just felt like I couldn't really put anything down. I just had to sort of like go with the feeling, in the time. But for the Van Morrison question, I did think about this for quite a bit. And the three songs that I picked were Madame George off of Astral Weeks, Enlightenment off of the record Enlightenment, and the live version of Caravan from The Last Waltz. And so... Well, also, Madame George, I've got a sort of a slash with a song called Behind the Ritual, which is off a much later record called Keep It Simple. So to me, each three did kind of address a thing that I love about Van Morrison. So Madame George is like, it really is like James Joyce soul folk music or something. It's an incredible... It's like 9 minutes, and it's just describes the scene, and it's sort of it's in Belfast, and it's like it's this guy who's a transvestite, who's a friend, who's sort of you don't really get the full picture, but it's just this sort of he just describes this. He just creates the aura of this whole time and place, and the kind of almost breaking kind of feel guy like that who's living in a place, where he's never going to be fully he's an outsider, and Van's there with his friend. It's mystical. And that's, I think, a word that's attached to him a lot for good reason. And the song Behind the Ritual, which is probably 30 years later or something, in there, because it's the same, it's a very similar thing. He can still do that epic poetry to music, where he just conjures up like a place and a time, and then feelings as well. And it's so just the poetic just miracle that he's able to pull off musically and lyrically is one aspect that I love about him. Enlightenment is a kind of mid-period song, and it really addresses his whole, all through his life he's been searching for spiritual clarity and just a peace of mind. He seems a pretty restless guy. And Enlightenment, it's just such a beautiful, it's got these, chop that wood, carry water. Yeah. What's the sound of one hand clapping? Enlightenment, I don't know what it is. It's like these verses, and that's the whole song. It's just the beauty of the search, but never, there's another verse in there. I'm in the here and now, and I'm meditating, but still I'm suffering. But that's my problem. Enlightenment, don't know what it is. Hey, buddy.
So cool.
So that element of that search, that kind of constant, but it's like an adventure, this adventurous search. And then Caravan, just because to me, it's that live version of The Last Waltz just highlights the pure, incredible R&B showman that he is,
Yes.
And just the joy he takes in being swept away by just big, loud soul music,
Yeah, and that somebody who could write like that would have a presence like that and would have an instrument like that as well. We don't all get blessed, we're lucky if we get one thing that's our thing, and it's like but I agree with the thing about the poetry and the imagery and who would write a song like that. When you get swept up in imagery and they don't give you in like so much that every little detail, but you have a picture in your mind. Almost when listening to that kind of stuff. We're talking right now, everybody, with Scrappy Judd Newcomb, producer. You may have known things he's produced by Slade Cleaves or by myself. You may have checked out his latest record, The Third Party. I know he's working on other music right now down in Marfa. Or you might have seen him for 20 years playing guitar with Ian McLagan and the Bump Band, which I'm sure we might get a question about as well.
Yeah.
I would love it if we just took a moment, because we have so many great questions today, but I would love it if we just took a moment and you felt like playing a song off of maybe your new record or anything that you just felt like playing right now. Would the folks out there, please, in the comments, would you like to hear a song from Scrappy Judd? I think the answer is going to be a resounding yes.
All right. Well, let's see. I'll do this song that you and I had so much fun playing on our tour back in January.
I wrote a song in praise of Holly. I sang it downtown Saturday night. I couldn't say if she's ever heard it, but the crowd eats it up, and that's alright. And I know the times are changing, but what were you really expecting, my friend? I don't believe that hope is fading. We got rock and roll all the way to the end. We got rock and roll all the way to the end. All right. My friend's girlfriend, she was a real whirlwind. She said that her friend kinda liked me. We got lost trying to find some party, but we sat and watched the stars and fell asleep. Oh, I know the times are changing, but what were you really expecting, my friend? I don't believe that hope is fading. We got rock and roll all the way to the end. We got rock and roll all the way to the end. All right. No, I'm never tired of singing this song, and I don't believe you could be too free. I thought I wrote it all down for Holly, but I guess I might have written it for you and me, because I know the times are changing, but what were you really expecting, my friend? I don't believe that hope is fading. We got rock and roll all the way to the end. We got rock and roll all the way to the end. We got rock and roll all the way to the end. We got rock and roll all the way to the end.
Oh, yeah. And we did have quite a good time playing that song a lot on the road on our duo tour when we did the Southeast. And I look forward to a day where we can start touring again. And, of course, did we play that a little bit when we were in Japan?
Oh, probably.
At least a couple of times.
Yeah, because that record was just out.
Yeah. And that record is called The Third Party.
Yes,
and as you see below me here, there's good stuff here. And, of course, you have that YouTube channel and some pre-recorded shows on there that are really, really beautiful with all sorts of different music. Let's get back to some more questions. And please feel free to fill the chat with applause emojis as well. We got to John Austin. The next question that came in was from our friend Kate Howard. People are doing some questions where they need to questions where they need to what was I going to say? This question says 3 most gratifying collaborations and why. Productions, bands, co-writes, etc. I think with a question like that, it is tough sometimes, and it's kind of like I'll let you go at it, but a lot of times it's going to be like the first 3 things that pop in your mind, because I don't know about you, but I got a lot more than 3 where I felt really, really lucky to work with somebody. I don't think that the more I do music and the more that I'm grateful for the life that I've lived, I swear it sounds cheesy, but it's not. The more I feel like it just is not about me. It's about that connection, and it's about being with an audience, about writing with other people. It's about what they bring to the song and stuff like that. So collaboration is one of the greatest joys. But if you could think of a couple of collaborations that pop off the top of your head, whether it be, producing for Slade or playing with Mac or anything that you've done, I'm sure we'd all love to hear about some of those collaborations anyway.
Yeah, I'll try to maybe to narrow the margin and just think of maybe just studio collaborate, because there, like you said, there's so many. But I think the first and foremost, in some ways, was the very first Loose Diamonds record that Stephen Bruton produced, and it was right when I met Stephen, and so it was really like it was several wonderful collaborations, because it was us as a band, really first time making a full-length record, and just the excitement of that. I mean, it was incredibly exciting. I mean, it was, I remember going home and like being so amped. I couldn't get to sleep, and I'd be hanging out with the roommates or wherever, it was probably with the guys in the band, and, you know, drinking beers, smoking cigarettes until like, it's like, okay, we got to go to sleep. And I just remember like,
you didn't want to.
Yeah. And then you wake up and you're so tired, and then it's like, you get back to the studio and then you're amped up again and
energized, just like that. What was the name of that record?
Burning Daylight.
Burning Daylight.
But it
was in there for people.
It was also great because it was when I really became friends with Stephen, you know, and because we worked so intensely together, and he it was one of his first big production. Well, I mean, big, but it was one of his first production deals where he was really trying to move into that part of his life. And so it was just incredible. I learned so much, and I worked very hard and very happily so. And Stephen was a great taskmaster, and some really probably shouldn't get into some of these stories, but some great times. Well,
it'd be great if you did, if you could think, because I know from being on the road with you, so many great stories that some of them are, that we're not talking about that, but some of them are really, really funny and great. Like one little anecdotal Stephen story from the studio or something like that. I know that people would love that.
Well, here's one that's maybe a little racy, but I think everyone can handle it.
Great.
We got into this habit of Stephen and I shared a very similar sense of humor, and we discovered that really quickly. And so we would just immediately go into these voices of, you know, he'd be like, "Boys, that was a good day. I think we got a lot more accomplished than we ever dreamed of," you know. And he would. So if we did have a good day, he'd be like, "Boys, come into the control room." And the studio we were recording at, the owner had this legendary collection of pornography, like, but nothing too crazy, but just magazines and just a chest full of them. So we would go into the control. Stephen, you worked hard today. We just a minute, Harpo. We had there were some tears, there was some laughter. You know, he did the whole like kind of drill sergeant thing. And he'd go, "But you've earned it, boys. Sit down and listen to a tale I have to tell." And then we'd all sit on the floor, and he'd open up a penthouse and go to the letters, go to the forums, you know, and he would just in this really officious voice be like, I was 18, coming home from college for my first summer away from home. You know, my parents had left the house to go to a chalet in Switzerland, so it was up to me to clean the pool. You know, I hadn't realized that we had a new neighbor, a young attorney who just, you know, and he would just, but he would read it like this cold Joe Friday type of way. That, come here, buddy. Harpo, come here.
Well, you know what's great about that is though that kind of teaches you. Yes, we are all saying hello to Harpo, and we're saying hi to Alice and Oscar because we are dog people here, and we know the good value of a rescue. Yes, we are live on Austin Music Live, channel 16. If you want to have us on the big screen, please go watch us there. And I believe on ATTUverse, it's 99 as well. You know what I love about that story, though, is this is your first time in the studio, and you can be really, really, really nervous your first time in the studio. I don't know about you, as well as excited. And so what can happen is if somebody just all of a sudden sits down and in a very official tone, very seriously starts reading you a story from a Penthouse forum, you're going to die laughing, and you're going to be relaxed all of a sudden. It's going to take all of the weirdness and focus it there.
Yeah.
Like, and what a great thing for a producer to do is just like suck all the negative energy out of the room and make it weird. And like, there's something about that, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. He another really great memory from that session was when it was being mixed. The engineer Dave McNair was sort of in control room, and he was mixing by himself, and then we'd go in and
What
listen.
a great engineer too.
Yeah. So me and Mike Campbell were sitting in Troy's brother were sitting in this control room. Steven was doing business, and Mike and I were talking about the band and just going, because we just were like crazy about the band. We were just talking about, oh, this song, that song, that. And finally, Steven just kind of looks up and kind of puts his glass. He goes, "The band? Oh, yeah, I knew those guys." And we just were like, "What?" And so he launched into hours of all his time in Woodstock and all his connections, his story, these incredible stories about how we met Richard Manuel, and it was a magic time. It was a magic time.
Well, and it's fun too because you start peering in and you look behind the curtain a little bit, and you do start realizing that everybody is just people.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It doesn't take long, it didn't take long, for you to realize that sort of thing. And I love that. I think that if I were to even say, like for a friend, like what collaborations, the thought of Loose Diamonds and you starting out and being in like a band and rock and roll, and that it serendipitously, if that's the word, got you with Bruton.
Yeah,
for your incredible long time relationship with him and the Resentments and everything else that you guys did together, and it's just that's a good one. So Kate, what a great question. We could do kind of like a rapid round with some of these kind of short questions that I really, really dig. And thank you, Danielle, Lady D, for putting that information for us. David Goldblatt says, I mean, I really don't know the answer to this question, but I'm going to answer it first as honestly as I can. How fun is it to play with two great guitar players, like someone that you feel like is a great guitar player? What happens with me when I play with another great guitar player, 'cause sometimes I'll play power trio, or sometimes I'll play a solo show, or sometimes Kate says, "Thanks, Scrappy. I was really after stories and you delivered." Like it. There you go, Kate. When I'm playing with another guitar player, especially somebody that I look up to, I'm amazed at how much space they want to give me. And they just like great guitar players and the people that I've always looked up to. It doesn't matter if it's David Grissom or it's Dave Scher, who's on here earlier. There's a lot of no, you take it.
Yeah.
And I love it, man, because they don't want to sit there, and they get their time all day long, and everybody kind of puts them in a place where they want to hear them. They want to hear what's going on with whoever the new guy is and stuff like that. I find it personally super, super inspiring. I've been very lucky not to know very many showy guitar players, and I've been very lucky not to know many egotistical guitar players. Austin's just kind of a little different that way, I think. It's like everybody kind of feels like, man, we got our time. We're going to have our time to shine. And, it's a great thing when you go play a Resentments gig, or when we play with Purgatory players too, because, a little space for John D, a little space for Miles, whatever. David, if you're still here, my answer to that is, it's inspiring, and in ways that you wouldn't expect, because they pull things out of you.
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think about that?
I think that's a great point, or a great observation that, and I completely agree. That really happened, and that's the conversational aspect,
of music.
Yeah. Where, but I love playing, with great musicians, but yeah, playing with another guitar player, it's kind of just endlessly fun and fascinating for me, because there's so many things I want to learn and so many things I want to learn how to do better. So, if you're playing with somebody who is taking more of a lead role or something, then it's just like, oh, cool. Then I can finally like really work on these concepts of rhythm that I hear. Yeah. And all that. And it's just like, you know, I mean, it's like milliseconds. You just try, well, let me try this, you know? And it's, I mean, I just love it. I know you and I run into, a situation that me and Derek O'Brien used to run into on a project sometimes with Tony Price, where we're both like, oh, yeah, you got it. No, you got it. And it's like, Tony would have to just be like, somebody play a solo. Like, you know, it'd be like,
well, you know, and you know what else I really love about it too is, you know, over the pandemic, I've been able to do some more teaching, and I don't usually get to teach. And, you know, when you start teaching people, okay, if somebody's down here with a G chord and they're beating the soup out of it, don't be down here playing a G chord and beating the soup out of it. Come up here and find a little space.
Yeah.
Find a way. And like that kind of communication, or why is it that we are so turned on by Ron Wood and Keith playing together?
Yeah.
Because really, really, really worked out communication and slightly different places on the neck. And we're not all just banging down here, and we're not all playing at the same time. And when you start, like, that is such the communication aspect, whatever instrument it is, or when it's with a full band, it's magic. And it's like, it's hard to put into words, and it's so cool when everybody's listening.
Yeah.
Is the coolest. It's like, I don't care if he just played 2 notes. Rick Richards will play a drum fill, and I swear it'll be poom, pa-poom.
Yeah.
You know, it was perfect, and it just fits in with everybody. And, you know, that's what I love about playing, and playing with another guitar player is just, you know.
Yeah. You get people playing with real intent, you know, and the intent is coming out of the ensemble. So when when you're listening, it's like you don't. Sometimes it's like you don't do something simple just because, like, oh, look, this is going to be cool. I'm just going to do 2 notes, you know. But you do it because it's like this will sound so good this part. You know?
I know, right?
Yeah.
I've even find too. It's funny too when you and I will sometimes we'll be playing sentence, and we will all of a sudden not play the exact lick, but we'll both answer a phrase.
Yeah.
And so both of us, and it's a creepy thing when both of us go boo-da-da.
Yeah.
That was what needed to be played there, and we both have been, you know, listeners for a long time. And the funny thing is when it'll happen in harmony or something.
Right.
So that. You know, it's like, you know, or whatever.
Yeah.
Hey, so I mentioned that we're on 20 Question Tuesdays right now, everybody, and thanks for helping out your musicians who are unemployed right now. We really, really appreciate that. Thanks to Austin Music Television, and we're there on Channel 16 as well. This is Scrappy. Judd Newcomb is my guest. I mentioned that next week my guest was going to be Bill Kirchen. The week after that is going to be our friend Seela. Seela is on right now, and she's hanging out, and she has a really great question I'm going to jump to. Do you know, and this is specifically for you, Scrappy, do you know the story when you start to write a song? And she means it specifically in questions on songs like Gwendolyn, Damaged Goods, You and Your Lady. You know, and I know my answer to this type of a question, but I would love to hear yours, and especially on songs like that, like Gwendolyn, Damaged Goods, You and Your Lady. Do you have a story mapped up in your head, mapped out? Do you make an outline, or do you know what you're going to write about, or does it kind of lead where it leads?
Gosh, it's tough. With You and Your Lady. It's funny that you mentioned those songs because all 3 of those were written in Holland over way different times. But I remember very vividly writing all 3 of those songs. And one of them, You and Your Lady, I remember, just writing it out. Like I was in a room, I was on tour with Bieber.
Is that from the album Byzantine?
Byzantine it is, yes.
You and Your Lady.
And Gwendolyn's on there too. And Damaged Goods.
Okay, they're all on that record.
So I guess I was going to Holland a lot at those times, but yeah, I remember Beaver was asleep and I was being really quiet and had my guitar and that song just like I mean, it says it pretty clearly. That was I really just wanted to write about the feeling that you get. Like I remember very clearly also thinking, I got to get this song to Smokey Robinson. Like how in the world would I do that? I don't know, but that's exactly what I was. It was just kind of a Motown vibe, and just like.
Can I mention something though? I want to mention that is a wonderful thing that I love to tell people is that there are times when your favorite writers think about somebody in their head.
Yeah,
I hear Smokey Robinson singing that, and that can really inspire you. I personally want people to not shy away from that feeling because a beautiful song like that can come out. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's a good point. That's a good point. And it's probably a good idea to go through life imagining Smokey Robinson saying and singing everything. You'd just be a happier person.
Wouldn't that just be all of us?
But yeah, it's like one of those songs like Groovin', the Rascals, or just trying to capture just a beautiful moment, and I would say that Damaged Goods is maybe kind of a collection of that same thing. It's just different. I guess I was seeing life in that song in my life at the time. I was seeing things in a very adventurous sort of way. Like everything was kind of an adventure every day, and it was. And it was like I guess I wanted kind of the thinking in those kind of classical, like Tattered Flags and like what do you call those archetypes or icons or something?
Yeah, archetypes.
Yeah, symbols like the courtroom and the justice is blind and lady with the blindfold and all those things. The whole thing being that, also kind of thinking about that, like when people say this is such an imperfect world or whatever, it's like, no, this is just the world. This is just
it is what it is.
Yeah, there isn't another world next door that's like, we should be more like those guys, So that kind of the whole idea of Damaged Goods was that you're fine.
Yeah, Sheila says, "Hey, Smokey, what's for breakfast?" But hey, I want to break into
some waffles this morning. I made a couple links of sausage for you. Mama said to cook for my lady every day.
Oh, wouldn't life be so sweet? Wouldn't life be so sweet? What I was going to say was, before you mentioned Gwendolyn, I think there are some songs that absolutely 100% are mystery.
Yes.
Whether it's a person that you made up in your mind, there are definitely songs like, and I'm a talker, as everybody knows, and as you can see on this video, but there are certain songs I do not want to talk about, and I want people to put themselves in it or find their own thing with it. And sometimes, I don't know what you're going to say about Gwendolyn, but sometimes, what's it like that song, Let the Mystery Be,
Yeah. No, I mean, I imagine, you kind of can't help that. There's a God, it's there. There's always there's a fast car outside. That mystery's there. It's just ingrained in rock and roll, and music. And
thank goodness. Thank goodness.
I know. But Gwendolyn, John Austin knows very well because I told that story at and he and I are actually working on a song that he wrote about me telling that story.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and that was I wrote it when I was on the road with John D. in Enschede, and it was just a beautiful old world. What's that?
I said Gesundheit.
Oh, thank you. To you. It was just one of those beautiful, we were staying in this great old wooden hotel and it was all creaky and there was art on the walls and it was real simple. There was like a desk, a chair, and a glass of water and a pencil and paper. And I wrote that song before the show and played it that night at our gig. But Yeah, that was inspired by a person, and but it went a lot of other places. There wasn't a real outline for that so much. It just was about a feeling of separation, I guess.
I find it very, very rewarding to know that some of my favorite writers have helped me, like yourself, have helped me know that who cares as long as you get the song. If you want to write, with an outline, great. If you want to see where it takes you with a free write, great. Try everything. Use what works for you.
Yeah.
Don't poo-poo on any idea, and knowing the story can be really, really helpful, and knowing who you're singing to and what about and that kind of thing. And sometimes just like, I have to let this pour out of me is also a really, really, really beautiful, beautiful thing.
You got it. Well, like that song that we wrote about Flat Tire, it's like a story, but it's like that's
it has a beginning and an end, middle.
Yeah, but I love it.
Yeah, me too. I really remember when we sat down to write that I had this image of a flat tire, and what is a flat tire? I just don't know a song called Flat Tire, and we wrote this story about a guy who wouldn't normally win in that situation, and he did end up winning, and what a great thing just to do. And then it just turns out to be something that people really dig getting into. My friend Jimmy Kayula at Music Ranch Radio wants to know when the Resentments will be getting back together, and I think it's a good time for me to mention that we will be doing a show this Sunday, and you can look at all the appropriate things online and for information on that. Thank you, Jimmy, and thanks for playing our music both separately and of the Resentments, and everybody else. Thanks. I also want to thank, we're on Austin Music Live right now, as well as all the interwebs where we're getting all of these things. I'm sorry, Austin Music TV. Thank you so very, very, very much for putting it out there to the world. Thanks to my guest, Scrappy Jed Newcomb. We got some more questions to get to, but I'm going to ask, because that was such a great question about your songwriting, I would love it if you played one more song for us, and for people to look at these links right down here as well. So one more from Scrappy Judd, and we'll go over a little bit today online if you want to follow along, et cetera. But what would you like to play for us?
Oh, I'll play Gwendolyn.
Ah, perfect.
It's a big storm rolling across the sky here in Marfa, so this is perfect for the vibe.
I never thought that I'd amount to very much. Do you know how that goes? Here I'm trembling from your sudden touch. Oh, Gwendolyn. Across the rooftops, across the oceans too. Across the darkest night. Oh, I've been calling for a lover like you. Oh, Gwendolyn. Looking down when I feel so high. Looking simply straight ahead. Maybe now I could look in your eyes. Oh, Gwendolyn. You might see me when I'm far away, going further every time. But hand me a guitar and I will play. Ah, Gwendolyn, I hope you make it this time around. There's so few stops on the line. I'm waking up and the sun is going down. Outside I hear the quietest sound as the doves are turning in. Now something mighty keep it spinning all around. Oh, Gwendolyn. No, I never thought that I'd amount to very much. Do you know how that goes? Oh, here I'm trembling from your sudden touch. Ah, Gwendolyn.
That's Scrappy Judd Newcomb, everybody.
Hey.
Thank you for performing that song for us. We've got some nice replies, like such a great album from Kate Howard.
Oh, thank
and Sela goes, yay, at the beginning of the song. John Austin says a very special song. Brenda Finley, who also said she has a cat that's named Scrappy Judd.
Ooh.
She also says, I love this song. You just made my day.
Hey, that's the best news I've heard all day.
I know. I dig that a lot. So I'm really trying to make sure we get to as many of these questions as we can. And George, as far as places to play in Austin, hit me up with that question. But we could do a quick rapid round for your next question. His question was, what's the favorite guitar that you ever played of your own? And or no, not of your own. Just what's your favorite guitar you ever played? Mine is my resonator guitar, my Beard Dobro, that's in Austin, and it is the nicest instrument of any kind I've ever owned, and I got really lucky when I got that one, and it just makes you play a certain way. So that one's kind of the top of my list. I don't know why, but unfortunately, it's not with me. It's in Austin right now. It's not here on Vancouver Island. Do you have a favorite guitar that you ever played that stands out as the one?
Oh gosh, yeah, not really at different times, but I mean, my J50, the Gibson J50 acoustic guitar is one that, it always makes me feel right.
Do you and Slade both have J50s?
Yeah.
So when you go and play with Slade Cleaves, it's double J50 sometimes.
No, I usually bring a Guild when I play with Slade out, because I play the Guild and then I play baritone with him as well.
Yeah, the baritone, which was Bruton's, is such.
That's another great one. Yeah, my old Tele that I don't play out much anymore, the Tele Custom.
It's not a deluxe; it's a Tele Custom.
It's a custom, yeah.
Man, and that's got the humbucker.
Yeah, it's the Keith Richards, the wide range humbucker.
We've been very jealous of that. I've coveted that guitar from afar. I don't know if you know that, but I have.
It's like I got that in Louisville, I think, or Cincinnati.
Isn't it great when you get it on the road? Sometimes you're just like, I gotta have you. And then you come home, and I remember one time I was on the road with Ray Wiley Hubbard, ding, name drop, whose new album sounds great if anybody wants to check it out. I was on the road with Ray Wiley, and he bought this amp, and he's on the phone with Judy. He goes, Judy, I had to buy it. It matches your eyes.
Yes.
Good one. That's a good move. That's a solid move for a man who's been married for a long time. But
The old New Mexican himself.
yes, that's exactly right. That's right. Doc Ari asked a good question. It's not music related, but I love this question. What are you currently reading and favorites? Feel free to go first. What are you reading right now, and what's like a favorite thing that you dig?
Oh gosh, I don't know favorites. Well, I'm really happy with what I'm reading right now. I'm reading a book called Transit by Anna Segers. It's
Okay.
Seghers. So I think it's probably like the German, what became Sayers, but I think it's Segers. And it's it's all set in the world in late 30s, early 1940s. A guy leaving occupied France, and she lived in that time, and she did a lot of these things. She's a great writer. She also wrote a great book called The 12th Cross. That's also about getting out of Nazi Germany, and it's things that she had to do, and she's just a remarkable writer. Really, really great. It's like I don't know. And then I'm reading this book called by an Irish writer, and it's a fictional. Sort of poses the question, what if John Lennon had decided to leave New York in 1978 and go find an island that he had bought back in the 60s off the coast of Ireland? And it's so good. It's just this lyrical, dream-like, and he gets inside. You totally believe that, these are like John Lennon. The words and thoughts are like, yeah, that's pretty much it. I could see him saying that or thinking that, It's a beautiful book.
Yeah. Let's see. Right now, I'm reading a couple of things. I took a break from reading Anand Giridhara's book, "Winners Take All," which is a really, really, really good book on income inequality and the sneaky side of philanthropy. I'm reading Solaris. It kind of came across by Stanislaw Lem. I've never read that one before, and I thought, well, this would be a good thing just to get out of my brain. I'm a closet Shakespeare reader, which I've mentioned here before.
You're out of the closet. You're out of the closet.
I read a ridiculous amount of Shakespeare, and I got to say one thing too. My poet friend Michael Anania has gotten me into. I told him, I was like. I've read all the Bukowski I can, and I'm reading Maya Angelou, and I'm reading all this poetry, and I was like, I need desperately some new poetry. And he hipped me to this really, really, really beautiful stuff, this Chinese poet, and his name is, this stuff is amazing, Scrappy. You would just, Li Shangyin.
Okay. Oh, that rings a bell.
And lived from 813 to 858. Low-level official, but a poet. And what's really, really great about these translations of this poetry, aside from imagery and stuff that you would expect, it's very, very hard to decipher what any of the poems are really, really, truly about. So you are in it. From the minute it starts, these poems are really, really, really great. So I'm really digging that right now too. And I think probably in the next day or two I'll finish that Stanislaw book because it's not huge, but it's a good one. I'm not a huge sci-fi guy, but every once in a while I'm more of a Haruki Murakami kind of guy. Matt the Electrician got me into him.
Oh yeah,
he's like Japan's Elmore Leonard.
Yeah, sort of like that. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like these weird mystical mysteries.
Yeah.
When you don't really know what's going on. And I find that stuff really, really fun to read. Okay, we've only got a few more minutes, but what we're going to do while we're still online, I want to make sure to thank Austin Music TV once again. And make sure, because in a couple of minutes we'll be off on here, but we'll stay online because we've got a lot more questions to ask. If you don't mind staying for a little bit online, Scrappy.
Yeah.
Not too long.
I'll stay as long as Harpo will let me. He's getting
okay. So it's really going to be about Harpo. It is about our dogs most of the time. Let's see if we can get one more question in before we are off of the television channel. And thank you again to Austin Music TV and all that you do. because I sure love it.
All that you do.
Everything you do. Okay, so we got the reading that people actually know that we're literate somewhat. And
what's another question?
Oh, we've got some really, really good ones. I'm trying to choose. Oh, so Dale Hudson asked a really interesting question, and I know that this would be a quick one to answer. Do you know? He said, I don't mean to sound ignorant, but as somebody, do you know that there are you aware of guitarists that are not necessarily able-bodied? And I'm aware of a number. I mean, aside from seeing the many great blind guitar players.
Oh yeah,
that we all know of. The first one that pops into your mind, of course, is Django Reinhardt only having two fingers that really worked on his left hand because he was in a fire, and just having two. And and he prefaced this question by saying, "I don't mean to be ignorant." It's not an ignorant question at all. Go ahead.
Oh, I mean Hector Ward in Austin.
Yeah, right. There you go. And leads an entire huge soul band and rock band from a wheelchair on stage. Yeah. So Dale, I think that's a great question and a thing that people should feel looking up. Just like anything else, you know how people will say, well, you lose your eyes, but you get other senses. If you have some sort of a disability that makes it harder for you to play, I shouldn't say disability, you have some sort of a challenge that makes playing in a different way, you're going to come up with different things. I knew a trumpet player in college who got stiff-armed in the mouth with his trumpet, and it wrecked his lip. He was a lead player, Brad Fowler. And for an entire year, his range was about one octave. Well, the whole year he just spent working on his ear. And when he came back, he had learned so much when his lips came back and stuff like that. But having Tony Iommi missing a finger, Jerry Garcia missing this one, doing banjo rolls this way. Sometimes it's as full as I'm in a wheelchair. Sometimes it's I'm blind. Sometimes it's I have this challenge or that challenge. I think it's really cool. Hey, Kelly, I will get to your questions. I'll see if we get to them by the end of the online. And once again, we got about a minute, so we're going to thank Austin Music TV.
Let's get one more quick one in.
What's that?
Can we get one more quick question?
Oh, yeah, to be online.
Yeah, to be on.
Another one. Biggest influences of guitar, and have you ever played with them? That's Joel from the for me, there's no bigger influence musically than Stevie Wonder, and guitarist is always Jimi Hendrix. That's where I started. Have I ever played with them? No.
It would be trouble. Yeah, I mean, as far as influences, most of them were people that I was playing with.
Thanks, everybody on Austin Music TV. We will see you all soon, and we're going to continue online in 3 and 5, 4, 3. Bye, Austin Music TV. Thank you so very, very much. All right. So if you would like to continue answering your question for Joel, biggest guitar influences, and have you ever been able to play with any of them?
Well, many of them were people that I was playing with, but as far as influence, hands-on learning, people like Rich Brotherton, kind of the Tony Price band of the 90s, Rich Brotherton, Champ Hood, and Casper Rawls. Were all great influences in very different ways. And as far as a kid, and still, I mean, I still pretty much marvel at what Keith Richards can do. I was just listening to a live thing from like '99 or whatever, and he can be hit or miss. I understand, but when he's on, it's. I mean, it really is like, Little Richard is the voice of rock and roll, and Keith Richards in a lot of ways is the rhythm guitar player of rock and roll in my book, and so I'll always love him. I've never got to play with him. I did play with Ron Wood on several occasions.
That's right.
I met Keith briefly, and his guitar tech let me play Macabre, his 5-string open G legendary.
Yeah.
That when we were doing a thing with them, but gosh, aside from Keith, I would say that Cornell Dupree might be.
Cornell Dupree. I just saw a thing come across my I don't know what it was, maybe YouTube feed that was Cornell Dupree doing a Hot Licks video.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, is it smoking?
That's
and
great.
it's one of these instructional videos where you don't get to. I mean, he just plays.
Yeah, he doesn't.
He'll go, this is a major scale. And then he'll play a major scale and he'll be like, now this is how I use it. And then you look, you're like, blah, but it's so good, so in the pocket, so beautiful.
Yeah, he just sits on that stool and just sort of like, and you're like, I think in Cornell has been a big influence in just principles of guitar playing in a lot of ways. And I'm just a huge fan of like his solo record "Teasin" is one of the best '70s jazz-ish R&B records. So good. Chuck Rainey on bass, and Steve Gadd, and it's incredible. I think Richard T. probably playing keyboards.
Peter Blackstock just chimed in and said, "Hey, I just switched over to Facebook, caught most of the first part on TV. That's pretty cool." Peter, thanks for all you do for supporting us.
Hey, Peter.
We really appreciate you, man, and everything you do. You've helped a lot with keeping us going with the online stuff too, and you made the transition really quick to helping out. If you check out, and I can say that now that we're not on TV, I can say check out Austin 360, check out Peter's reviews of stuff, and he really hips you to a lot of musicians like us who are online, and provides a little bit of a platform for us to get up there and stuff. And Joel, I guess I should have mentioned too, because I play my weird lap steel guitar, my big thing was like taking dobro that I found in bluegrass and then the sacred steel players that I heard that were like before Robert Randolph, and trying as hard as I could to put them together. I mean, we're all trying to find like a voice, and it comes from all of our influences, right, Scrappy?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yes. Kimberly asks, are you both self-taught guitarists? And you're very welcome, Joel. He says, thank you. Are you both self-taught guitarists? I started just learning by myself. My big brother taught me. He was 5 years older, and he was a guy who could play everything and read and was really well taught. And then I kind of faked my way into college as a theory major. And there I learned how to read, and I took some like voice lessons and stuff like that. And then I dropped out, and all I've ever done is play. Most of what I have learned on guitar has been through records, and then from learning from other people, and just like we were joking, osmosis, How about you, Scrappy? Did you start just picking one up?
Yeah. I never have studied, like a formal lessons or anything. But yeah, you just learn so much playing with people. That's anytime somebody comes up to me and it seems like it's just somebody's like a little like, middle age or later in life or whatever. And they're like, oh, I love playing guitar, but I'm just never getting it. I'm just like, man, or woman, find somebody in kind of in your level of playing and just get together and jam with them, play with them. You'll learn so much playing with another person. You learn so much.
I agree so hard. And I also really agree about the age thing. Young, old, don't care. There's nothing stopping you. And we know people, We talked about our friend John Austin and how he didn't have, he's a professor. He's in Ohio. He doesn't have a musical background. I taught his son a mandolin lesson, and then I started teaching him lessons. And first he wanted to learn bass, and then he wanted to learn guitar, and then he wanted to start working on songs. This is a guy who never really did anything but enjoyed music. And if you have a little bit of drive, don't be afraid to buy a guitar, put a stand right by wherever you relax, and play. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be playing music, not working music. And so, the idea that anybody could is true. It's true. I have met a couple people in my life. I think maybe only one or two where it was like they worked and worked and worked and worked and worked and worked and they never got better at it. But, maybe just the right person didn't show them the way. or it's so hard. So little of the population actually has, the technical term is amusia, which is tone deafness. It's less than 1/2% of the population is actually tone deaf. So if you can go like this and you can tell what's high and low, you can tell the difference between a flute and a tuba, you can learn to play.
A fluba.
Fluba would be really cool.
Yeah.
I like it. Larry King says, I took it up. It's not the Larry King, is it? I'm just kidding.
It is.
I took up the ukulele at 62. That's what I love to hear.
Hey, a lot of old school guys and people did that, because they had to work, in the field or something.
Well, and I mean, I've also loved, one of the things that my brother told me when I was young. I just believed him, because when you're a kid, you believe it. He was like, you can learn to play anything if you have enough time. Mm-hmm. And he meant anything. And I was like, I just, for some reason, I was young enough to believe him. I was like, oh, okay, so if I work really hard at it, I'll get good. Yeah. Yeah. And and to go back to that child stuff is a really good thing. My friend Kate Fleming asks, do you ever struggle with editing the song when you're writing? And I'll answer quickly on that question, all the time. But I have in the last year or two, I've really started enjoying songwriting more from a perspective of, I had a co-writing session with our friend Gary Nicholson, and I was like, writing is torture to me, and writing is so hard, and man, it's just so difficult. I'm so daunted by all the people that I play with. And Gary looked at me all confused, and he was like, I wouldn't do it if I didn't enjoy it. And I just kind of a break back, and I was like, man, and it kind of goes back to that thing of Ray Wiley saying, where's your proof? You think nobody wants to hear you, but people are listening,
Right.
So I really, really loved both of their advice.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to enjoy a lot more. The editing is like, a song is never, just like an album, a song's never really finished. Maybe they're done, but it's like you have to let it go sometime, whether an album or a song. Your kids have to grow up. Do you find that editing songs is particularly daunting, or have you learned to get comfortable with that?
Yeah, no, I like it. I like to write and just be free and wild and in the middle of the night and be listening to some favorite music and turning that off and writing or practicing and then writing on that, working on another song, just having a scattered kind of thing.
Me too.
Then like the next day or some day, morning, go and really, it's like, okay, what is going on here? Because it all came from a really happy place. And I felt like, I'm putting down things that I mean, which is that's the main thing to me is I just can't, I've had so many songs I've just left behind that I just didn't mean them,
Oh yeah. I feel you there. Like as far as I was trying to write something other than I was emoting or I was creating. It was a little bit too much like, I just don't sing that song anymore. I don't, or it was a different part of my life. And quite frankly, unless it was something that is highly requested, there's a couple that I'm just like, whew. Like that guy is way back there. Not even like the song isn't good or something. Usually I can make peace with that because somebody liked it.
Yeah.
But
I just have to like it, for me to sing it. Right. And there's just some songs I just don't. I get to the point where it's like I technically, I think I wrote a pretty good song, but I just don't like this,
Yeah, for sure. Real quick before we go, and we've got maybe one or two more questions that we're going to answer. And thanks for staying on. Thanks for staying on a little late. For everybody who's on, Scrappy and I are splitting the tips today, and we really, really, really appreciate it. If you don't have any money, we're super, super glad you're here. If you do have a little bit, we are quote unquote unemployed musicians, and this is what we're doing right now. So throw it in, and we'll split the tips today. I love being able to do this, and I love these questions that you guys bring.
Yeah,
and I love being able to bring on somebody like Scrappy to get a unique perspective and get us together and all that kind of stuff. The last question that I saw up there, which I really like. Oh, I just want to address this for you. Kimberly Shoemaker says, I can only chord. I can't seem to learn to play a lead. And you kind of laugh. I'm telling you right now, one of the best pieces of advice that my brother ever gave me, and something that I teach a lot in the lessons, is to really, really, really learn melody and to kind of sing what you play. And that's like the easiest way to step into playing leads, I think, is like, you know, if it's you are my sunshine, my only sunshine, you make me happy, then you're halfway to doing a lead. So I really, really love teaching people to be able to sing what they play, so that they're not just playing a bunch of notes and they really know what's coming out of their guitar. You don't have to sing it well, you know, and to understand melody is to understand lead, because lead players were just trying to recreate the human voice when it started. When Lester Young was playing with Basie, he was just trying to play the melody at first. It wasn't until much later that it got all whatever. I believe, Kimberly, that you can learn to play leads. I know you can. You have any advice on learning how to start playing leads if you mostly chord?
Yeah, well, I mean, one thing that I feel like I spent many years doing basically is that you know, there's the great area of riffs, which is not quite leads or whatever, but you know, if you're playing a G or an A is always the easiest, you know, if it, you know, and it's a song, you know, and it's time for a lead, you can you just kind of add to that chord, you know.
Hey.
You know, I mean, it's tons and tons of rock and roll. It has that type of lead, you know. So that's I would say just start with what you're doing and say, okay, what if I just, you know, I know I'm in G and here's a G note, so my lead will be.
Exactly, right. That's how you start playing leads. That's the vehicle for like getting into playing leads. It's not necessarily just all of a sudden jumping from one to the next. It's these little tiny phrases, things that are close, keeping your hand close to the chord shape, that sort of thing. And also, you know, most of the guys who play a lot, I don't know, it's cool. But it's like that old thing that Gurf Morlix used to say, which was someone who's technically good is not good, which is a little harsh. But what he meant, if I have to say he's technically good, then I'm not really enjoying the music. I'm just wowing at the fact that they can that he or she could fly around the neck. A beautiful melody. I have to mention my guest from last week, Jamie Harris. She is a great songwriter, and I really mean it. And she's also, you know, a solid accompanist. And when we went to Folk Alliance, I saw Jamie for the very first time. She was playing a song with her partner, Mary Gaucher, and she started playing a lead up the neck. She was in a different capo position, and she started playing a lead up the neck. And it was, Scrappy, it was freaking gorgeous.
I remember when you came back from that,
And I mentioned it.
Yeah.
And I was like, Jamie's playing leads now, man. And she's just starting to, I mean, now she's taken off with it. But watching that progression from I'm somebody who doesn't ever take a lead to I'm going to figure out little places to make it fit. And what a beautiful little space to be in.
Yeah.
And it was very inspiring. And they're always going to come up with something that I don't care who it is. You know, everybody comes up with something different, and that's exciting. Wilson Marks says, but if you don't go straight for the fourth mode of melodic minor, where is the music going to come from?
Well,
He's if you know Wilson Marks and his beautiful chord melodies. I love the influence in Wilson's playing of like the Joe Pass guitar player.
Oh yeah,
really, really great chord melodies.
yeah.
The difference is if you do play a lot of notes, then make sure you know all of them that you're playing and that it's musical.
Well, that like you're talking about that spot when you just sort of start doing, this. I can't even remember who asked this question, but like you're probably going. The stuff you play right at the beginning is probably going to be the stuff that you're going to like forever.
Yes.
You're all, when I listen to old Loose Diamond stuff, which is rare, but when I do, it's always just when I'm staying right in where I feel something, and it's like I love that. I'll do it 30 years later. It's just like, man, I love it. I wish I could just do that on every song.
Yeah. Just pick what's necessary. Just pick what I need to play and go with that. And that's enough. Well, this has been pretty amazing. There's one question I didn't get to from Kelly Hayes. I think she's going to go back and watch this later. So I want to try and get on here.
Come on, Kelly. What do you got?
This is a really, really good question. First of all, she says, do you ever write? First of all, did you ever write with Tony Price?
No. Actually, Tony never wrote.
Yeah, she's always been who does covers and an interpreter.
Yeah, chanteuse, a true torch singer.
Exactly. So that's the answer to that, Kelly. And then she said, "Do you write, on guitar or backtracks and things like that?" I do all of the above. Scrappy and I wrote a song 2 months ago for my Patreon that I transcribed the beat to a Cabbage Alley. I'd never done that before. Cabbage Alley by the Meters, and then just like walked around all day listening to the drums, and then we wrote a song from it, and that can be really fun. But sometimes guitar, sometimes I say anything. Do you write ever with tracks, or do you always go to the guitar or piano, or sometimes is it always different?
No, it's usually guitar. It's usually
Pretty
guitar.
much. Yeah. You like to write on.
Sometimes I don't really know how to play piano very well, but I do not know how to play piano very well. But I like sometimes I work on melodies on piano, once just because I can see that
Sure.
Like just different. I'll just like if I got a song that's like and I'll go. And I'll hit the piano, and then I'll just try maybe. Well, what if I started up on the 5 or what? And
well, that's kind of cool because just picking another instrument to mess around with because you can visualize it better.
Yeah. Or it seems to it brings it out more as far as like the possibilities of what will work seem like. Oh yeah, there's actually a lot that will work. But
the last question. Oh, I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead. I'm good.
The technology. Sometimes I walk all over my guest.
Technology.
Smokey Robinson is singing to us again. He said, "You walk on your guest. Don't walk on your guest." Kelly Hayes. The last question was, "How do you choose chords to play with certain melodies?" And I think that's a great question that come up in lessons a lot. And I would always just be like. If like I already have a melody or I'm already singing something and I'm trying to put chords to it, it's often very instinctive and like if that came first, if the melody or the first vocal came first, it's you got a good chance of knowing what chords you're going to put behind it. But sometimes you're surprised when you sit down and you go, no, that's not a G, that's a B minor. And I think that's one of the most fun things you can do with songwriting to make it interesting is specifically trying to put another chord under your melody that you wouldn't expect and seeing where it goes and being like, whoa, that same melody works completely in a different key or completely in a different place. And but for me, choosing the chord to go under a melody is very trial and error if it wasn't an instinct. Mm-hmm. If you were going to choose, if you had a melody in your head first and you were going to choose what chords to put underneath it, is it trial or is it vocabulary or what is it for you?
Well, for me, it's funny because ordinarily it usually comes together. Like I'll be with a guitar and a melody kind of, so I've never really thought too much about that until the past few months when, the world's a little upside down and I've been having to do a bunch of different stuff to make money. And some of that's been, like working outside for people so I've kind of gone back to what I used to be like, 19 or 20, where you just realize you're working and then you realize like, oh man, I've been humming the same thing for an hour. What is that?
I'm singing something.
Yeah. And so I've been coming home with melodies a lot more than I ever have. And doing basically what you're talking about, actually going to kind of like, okay, I'm pretty sure this is it. Something like that, something like that. But and then saying, oh, but wait a minute, what if how would I do this in a minor or major mode? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love the because I love the idea of substituting chords, and generally in the past, I like to do it where it's just like one spot where you've been playing a G, and then this one time you play an E minor or B minor, or something.
Does that happen at the end of Something Real, or is it something that happens at the end of? It's not Something Real.
Space Between.
That's it. Oh, okay, different key. Oh,
right?
yeah.
Maybe?
Yes. Yeah, maybe that's the one I'm thinking of. Matthew Sever just put in a last minute question. He came in a little late and he says, "Who are your influences?" All of them, alphabetically, please. Alphabetically. I don't think we're going to have time for that question today, sir.
I knew it was going to be something good, but that's yeah.
I can't thank you enough.
Excuse me, pardon me, but who are your influences? All of them, please. Tell all of them.
Alphabetically, and I'm only talking about musical and writers.
Right, and culinary.
Yeah, you know what? Today, if people who know us know that resentment shows and things like that, and purgatory player shows, we really go off the wall and do a lot of silly stuff and get kind of corny and stuff like that. And today we were very serious.
Yeah.
This is very, very odd for you and I to have been, but I think we just had a lot of really, really great questions.
Well, it's no shit, man. I mean, it really was like a bunch of cool questions, So we had to be serious.
We have one last one in from my friend Casey. And this is a good question, and we'll just go ahead and we're going to end everybody on this question. And thank you all for the tips, and thanks for following, and follow me on Patreon. And hey, also let me put this up before we answer Casey's question. I also want to put up this so you guys go and you follow. Action Town is Scrappy's YouTube channel, and there's some really great stuff there. If you go to Scrappy.com, you can link right to Action Town and watch these great shows. You can also find out all about Scrappy's albums. And I don't know if you can find out. Do you have like a production list yet on there of like albums you've produced? That might be a cool thing to do if you have.
I need to do a full discography on there of that kind of stuff.
It's hard, isn't it? We've played on a lot of records.
I have it just in a big, like, he's played with and produced, and then it's just a bunch of names, which is great. But But it'd be fun to go and remember a lot of that stuff too. Yeah,
I dig it. So go over there and check out these Scrappy things. Thanks for the tips that we're splitting today. And K-Bay, I am going to answer your question right now. It says, one of the reasons I stay away from hearing new music is because I'm so afraid of copying a melody. How do you deal with that? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to deal with this first and then give it to Scrappy, because here's the thing. Whenever I write something and think it sounds like something, no one else thinks it sounds like that. It's wonderful. It's like when I've said this before on this show. I wrote Sleeping Dogs thinking it sounded just like a Toots and the Maytals song, and then we recorded it, and all I ever get is Elvis Costello and Buddy Holly, and I'm like, that doesn't suck. Yes. So That's fantastic. I found it like either one of them, you know. And Scrappy's guitar playing was such a huge part on that song, making it sound. I'm glad you're here so I could say that. And when you write stuff, I don't think it's to be afraid unless you're really copying the same chords, the same key, the same melody, the same words. It very rarely is like, I just copied somebody. It's so rare. It feels that way when you're writing it. Other people don't hear it. Do you have that experience too when you're writing? Like,
yeah, sometimes. I mean, I think a lot of like what pop craft, like in the classic Brill Building and Motown and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
they were so good about taking what was cool, some kind of
like
not trademark, but some sort of a signature little melodic twist from a hit song, and saying, okay, well, we're going to put that in our song, but exactly. But it's not going to be like, I think what we do that subconsciously a lot when we're putting together music. It's just you're drawing from all these drawers and memories and a palette of beautiful little hooks that you've always, and
that you've loved, and creating your own take on it.
Yeah. And it's always, I mean, I completely agree with you too, where so many times where you think like, oh boy, this has gotta be something, or then and it's like,
just like Van Morrison, and then no one says it sounds like Van Morrison.
Right.
It sounds like something that you like. Oh, by the way, Matt Sever says you're welcome. On that note, I'm going to go ahead and end. Thank you, everybody. We're about to go offline. Thank you on YouTube. Thank you, Austin Music TV. Thank you on Periscope and Twitter. Thank you on Facebook for all of this great stuff. Thanks for giving us some tips for me and Scrappy to split today. I'll be back next week with Mr. Bill Kirchen. Week after that, I'll be here with Sela, who has an incredible album I want everybody to go check out. And we're going to see you guys next time. And this is a really, really fun thing that it's turned into. I'm really grateful. Scrappy, thank you for playing the music, and thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for being a friend, baby. And don't forget Resentments on Sunday.
Did you know that was the theme song to the Golden Girls?
No, I didn't know that.
Thank you for being a friend. And I just put up my 1,000th post on Instagram was a Golden Girls nod, because I'm a fan.
What's going on with the Golden Girls? They're coming back or something.
It's just they're just, it means a lot to me. They just mean. Okay. Right. Good night, everybody. And it's afternoon, but I'm going to say good night anyway. Bye, everybody. Take care. We'll see you soon. Thanks for everything. Bye.